ready for the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
Are you gonna be out in the streets with your Glock?
Maybe. I gotta go back to Nebraska and grab it.
The guy you just heard talking about how he wants to genocide conservatives is a far-left influencer who goes by the name Destiny. And he's not alone. There's millions of other Democrats just like him who want to murder you, your family, and anybody else they disagree with. Now, this guy has recently gone viral for inflammatory statements about what happened on July 13th. He was basically celebrating the attempted assassination of Donald Trump and the murder of a Trump supporter.
Do you condemn the shooter shooting Donald Trump?
No. Not here, not on this program, not in front of these people. Absolutely
You do not condemn. You are inhuman. You are somebody who seems almost gleeful that a young firefighter with a family, with a wife and children, who he was protecting as he was shot dead, that he deserved what was coming to him because he went to a President Trump rally. And
fuck it. Fuck the dude, the firefighter guy. Fuck Trump. Fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay, just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, you don't, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am, 100%.
I mean, I got to say, I just found that repulsive, Destiny.
I've heard some people online speculate that Destiny is saying these things for attention. But I can tell you that this is not the case. He's saying these things because he wants to stop people from feeling any sympathy towards his political opponents. He's a bloodthirsty, genocidal psychopath. Like, he publicly talks about how he wants to genocide conservatives. And he's upset because the country is starting to wake up. People are starting to realize that they have been lied to about Donald Trump for 8 years straight.
So, President Trump just got shot. And as someone who voted against Trump in both 2016 and 2020, this is a cause for deep reflection by me. And my question is, have we been told the truth at any point over the last 8 years about who Trump is and what's actually going on here? A lot of people who are pro-Trump have been saying that this is the playbook of the day, whether it's a deep state or, some shadowy interest in the government. First, they try to cancel you. So they say shit about your character. They say things that can't actually be proven. They take quotes from you that make you basically look bad. The second thing that they try to do is they try to convict you of something. In this case, trumped up charges about you paying legal expenses to a porn star for her to not say that you had sex with her. It's like, morals aside, is that really a big deal enough to convict someone? And then the third thing that they try to do is they try to kill you. And that's just what happened with Trump. And actually, I've been updating my view on Trump recently, and I started going back to some of the things that I was told that he said, and some of them he literally did not say. Like, for example, you remember when we were told that he said of white supremacists and other racists in a rally that he said that they were good people? It's not true. If you actually watch the whole clip, and I'll share a link to the clip here, you can see that he's clearly saying there were other people at the rally who are good people.
You're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible.
So this is a time where it's really hard to know what to believe, but, sometimes when we hear things are conspiracy, maybe it's time to listen because maybe it's not.
So this is really bad news for people like Destiny. And the only thing they can do to keep people from voting for Donald Trump at this point is to continue pushing the same desperate lies and try to dehumanize MAGA supporters as much as possible. That's what this is. He's trying to blind people with hate. And it's really no different from what Democrat elites have been doing all this time anyways.
Like you've never seen before. A man dressed to look like President Donald Trump gets stabbed to death on stage.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president? It's been a while. And maybe it's time.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
It's fake blood, just so you know. I won't give away what we're doing, but Tyler and I are not afraid to do images that make noise.
I just wonder I like the hair better before, right? With all the blood.
The terrorist Trump must be defeated, must be destroyed, must be devoured at the ballot box. And then he and his enablers and his supporters and his collaborators and the Mike Lees and the William Barrs and the Sean Hannitys and the Mike Pences and the Rudy Giulianis and the Kyle Rittenhouses and the Amy Coney Barretts must be prosecuted and convicted and removed from our society while we try to rebuild it.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
I'm ready for the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
I now want to outline some things that he said on Piers Morgan Uncensored, because what he said really confirms how bloodthirsty he is. And I'll start by pointing out how he basically said that all Trump supporters deserve to die.
Just to be clear, you weren't just not upset by the death of that firefighter who'd given great service as a firefighter to his country. You were gleeful and you said, fuck him. Fuck him.
I'm not. It's
Would
not
you
about
say
being gleeful.
fuck them if it was your family and friends?
He was a Trump supporter.
I would say that if they go to a rally like this and they support an insurrectionist president and something happens to them, I would feel sad on a personal level because they're my parents. But again, I learned from them more than anyone else. I grew up in Nebraska. You learn that if you mess around and if you do dumb stuff, that there are going to be consequences.
And would you
Did you catch that? Do you see what he said there? While they were talking about the firefighter who was shot and killed at the Trump rally, he said that people who do stupid things should expect consequences. And to him, doing a stupid thing means being a Trump supporter. And the consequences for doing this stupid thing is getting shot. He's basically saying that Trump supporters should be shot. Something else that I want to point out is that he basically said that he can't coexist with anybody who doesn't agree with him.
Be happy to say, you know what, fuck them. About your own parents.
His rhetoric is far more dangerous than I've ever heard anything that Donald Trump said, what he's saying right there.
Yeah.
He is saying you should have no empathy or sympathy for your fellow human. You know,
agree.
we can all disagree. We can disagree about politics, of course. We can even disagree about how the media frames things and everything else. But he's basically saying show up to a rally.
So here we have a moderate like Dave Rubin trying to tell this guy that, hey, we can be peaceful. We can coexist. It's okay if you disagree. And Destiny tells him point blank, no, we can't disagree about politics, and that any talk of peacefully coexisting with others who you disagree with, that's just a delusional idea that conservatives have.
We can disagree about politics, of course. We can even disagree about how the media frames things and everything else. But he's basically saying show up to a rally.
I hope you understand what he's saying, because what he's saying is if you disagree with him, you deserve to be shot. That's what he's saying. And he's not only talking about conservatives, he's talking about anybody who disagrees with him. You have to keep in mind that Dave Rubin is not a conservative. He's gay, he's got a husband, he's adopted kids, he's not conservative. And even him, Destiny told him straight to his face, no, we can't just disagree about politics. That's just a delusional statement that conservatives tell you. So when you see Destiny talking about how he wants to genocide conservatives, he's not just talking about conservatives. He's talking about anybody he disagrees with. This is the kind of thing you would hear during the French Revolution. After the Jacobins, basically the proto-communist party that overthrew the French monarchy, once they took power, once they killed the monarchy, they started killing each other. They started beheading each other left and right, because nobody was allowed to disagree. That's what people like Destiny want, and he's not alone. He's not rare. There's millions of people like him, and they control the mainstream media. They control the schools. They control the White House. These are the people who are in charge right now, and the only thing holding them back from throwing us all into prison or killing us is our Second Amendment.
And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? You know, because at some point, you know, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members.
So make no mistake about it. These people want Donald Trump dead, they want you dead, and they want anybody else they disagree with dead, and they mean to make it happen. So I'm telling you, make sure you're armed, make sure you're training, make sure you're learning how to use tourniquets and stuff like that, because these people hate you more than they hate ISIS. They literally talk about genociding you.
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
Okay, so before I go, I want to debunk all the lies that Destiny is using to basically justify his hatred for us. Or put another way, I'm going to debunk the lies that the left is going to use to justify mass murder. And I'm going to do this by playing a clip from the Piers Morgan show, and I'm going to pause and interrupt as Destiny gives his points. And I'm doing this part of the video because there's a lot of people out there who will change their mind if they see the truth. But right now they're blinded by the mainstream media and scumbags like Destiny. So with that said, let's get started.
You couldn't find it in your heart to chastise people for celebrating the near assassination of a man who was president of the United States and maybe again?
Absolutely not. Conservatives have completely bled that well dry, and the idea that they, after engaging in the most divisive and most extreme rhetoric that this country has seen in recent history...
That's not true. Liberal rhetoric has been far more extreme and divisive than conservative rhetoric has ever been. While it's true that conservatives sometimes say things like, I'd like to punch that guy in the face, that kind of rhetoric has existed on both sides, and there's a big difference between saying, I'd like to do something violent, versus saying, go out and do something violent. And the fact of the matter is that liberals have encouraged actual, real acts of violence far more than conservatives ever have. It's hard to think of a time when conservatives have told people to actually go riot in the streets, to burn police stations to the ground, and loot businesses. It's hardly ever happened, if ever. And I'm being generous when I say that, if ever. You're not going to be able to find a big compilation of it on YouTube, because it's freaking rare. Conservatives rarely call for real violence. They might say they want to do something, but they don't actually tell people to do it. And on top of that, if a conservative does call for violence, it's usually some no-name, somebody that nobody follows. But with Democrats and liberals, it's the opposite. You have big-name people with big followings on national TV saying that we need to punch people in the face, we need to have a revolution, there needs to be unrest as long as there's unrest in our lives, that kind of stuff. Openly encouraging violent behavior.
Our democracy is under siege. People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator. This is not something to analyze anymore. Yeah. This is not so, oh, a good day for Trump. Yeah. This is frightening stuff if you are an American. If you're somebody who's 80 years old and sitting at home and you've watched the greatness of this country, you should be terrified. And if you're a 12-year-old and the future is in front of you, this is terrifying. This is not time to analyze and pundit. People, we need a revolution at this point. And I'm not doing TV here, and I'm not going, crazy Donnie. Well, this is what's going on.
You know. And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful. Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Here's the thing. Trump is still a very powerful force right now, and he's still holding a lot of the part of the base that is very activated by his message, the nativist message that's got a fraction of the base very energized. And the donor class can't just sit back on the sidelines and say, oh, well, don't worry, this will all work itself out. They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump. And that's a fact.
That's just a small sample. And these are famous people. These are people with big followings. So I challenge any of you Democrats or liberals out there who think I'm full of crap, find me a compilation of Republicans, big name, famous people, saying the same things that you saw Democrats saying. Show me some famous Republicans on national TV saying that protests aren't supposed to be polite and peaceful, just like Chris Cuomo did. Show me. And show me a Republican on national TV saying that somebody needs to put a bullet in a Democrat politician. Go ahead. Try to find a clip like that. Try to show me a time when Republican actors got together and wrote a script where they stabbed a Democrat president to death, just like you see these Democrats stabbing Donald Trump to death. Show me a time. Just try. Try to put this compilation together. Show me. And if you can't put that compilation together, you have to admit that you're wrong. You're freaking wrong.
That they would come on and beg for sympathy, that it's escalated into some kind of violent confrontation is absolutely insane. Even the idea right now of saying, well, if you call somebody a Nazi for so long, it's, what do you expect people to do? I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh call Obama a communist every single day he was on the radio.
Yes, he called Obama a communist, but he never called for him to be assassinated. He never called for any violence. You have people calling for the assassination of Donald Trump. You have people saying things like, when was the last time an actor assassinated a president? Perhaps that time's now. You have people holding up a fake head of Donald Trump as if he's just been executed by the guillotine or something. You have people pushing a violent narrative. Yes, Rush Limbaugh called Obama a communist, but he never called for any violence against Obama. And by the way, Obama was 100% a communist. Rush Limbaugh was right. Obama and the rest of the Democrats, you're communists. You are. You really are. Compare your party's platform to the goals of the Soviet Union, or to the platform of the Communist Party of the 1950s, 60s, 70s. It's the same. You mirror each other. You're the same. And that's why you want the genocidist destiny. You're a bloodthirsty Stalinist.
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
You've got conservatives that talk about how the mRNA vaccines were ways to sneak microchips into us.
Those vaccines are very dangerous, and there's very good reason to be suspicious of them. You have soldiers like this woman who took the vaccine, got a heart attack at the age of 24, and now has to have a pacemaker the rest of her life.
I am 24 years old. I have had 3 heart attacks, a mini stroke, and I am now getting a pacemaker.
What's to blame?
The COVID vaccine, and that's when everything flipped upside down for me.
So is this Army memo an acknowledgement that your heart condition is the result of the COVID vaccine?
It 100% is.
Were you left behind by the Army and the National Guard?
I was left behind and trampled.
It's gotten so bad that even Chris Cuomo is questioning the COVID vaccine.
Our leaders and our media, they're both making a mistake ignoring long COVID and vaccine-related side effects, okay? They're not going anywhere. It's only going to get worse, and we have to make it matter, especially when it affects our warriors in the line of duty. Then you have an enhanced duty of care. We have to make it matter, so let's get after it. 24-year-old Army National Guard specialist, Carolina Stancic, okay? She says, like many in the military, she was urged by superiors to take the COVID vaccine. So she did. Not unusual. What is unusual, she immediately suffered severe adverse reactions. 3 heart attacks thereafter, and a stroke, okay? Young, strong, fit for duty. 19 months, the Defense Department refused to cover her medical expenses. 70 grand plus. This happened on their watch. According to a new report, the Department of Defense now acknowledges that Carolina's debilitating heart condition, called POTS, may have been caused by the COVID vaccine.
So there we have it. I'm sick and tired of people gaslighting us, saying that the COVID shots are perfectly safe and that there's nothing to worry about. It's not true.
We've got COVID lockdowns that were done because the government was trying to take all your freedom away.
Can you really blame people for having that opinion? Because governors and other elected officials were passing rules or executive orders basically saying you're not allowed to socialize. You can't have family reunions or celebrate Christmas together. But us elected elites, we can do whatever we want. So what happened was corruption. It was a loss of freedom. That's exactly what it was.
They won't acknowledge anything that happened on January 6th.
Nobody is denying the fact that January 6th had some political violence, but by Black Lives Matter's standards, it was a mostly peaceful protest, by far. We didn't burn down any buildings, we didn't seize government property for an entire month straight, we didn't start our own country or autonomous zone and call it Chaz or Chop. You guys did that. Objectively speaking, what your side did was 100 times worse than January 6th. Rioting and looting became like a common thing for you leftards. But one of the few times that a conservative protest got a little out of hand, you try to blow it way out of proportion. You try to compare it to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. It's ridiculous. They don't compare at all, especially when you consider the fact that police waved people into the Capitol building and gave them tours. And another lie that you guys peddle about January 6th is that Donald Trump tried inciting an insurrection to overthrow the vote. It's not true, though. He told people to peacefully and patriotically march over to the Capitol building. He didn't tell people to storm it.
We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections.
Look at what the president actually said. You can watch it on YouTube, read a transcript. Quote, I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Nowhere did he advocate acts of violence.
So yes, January 6th is way over-exaggerated, and Democrats are using it as a pathetic excuse to label MAGA Republicans as a bunch of terrorists.
They say that the election was stolen and that your country is being taken from you.
Democrats had no problem saying that the election was stolen when Trump beat Hillary Clinton and when George Bush beat Al Gore. And in the case with Donald Trump, they said he stole the election with the help of the Russian government. And so all these different investigations were launched, and it turned out to be a lie. It was all made up. So if you guys get to say that the election was stolen, how come we can't say the election was stolen? After all, we have actual proof. We have recordings of poll watchers being prohibited from entering the building so that they couldn't observe the vote count.
They're being told they got to wait on a rooftop because there are COVID rules, and it doesn't make sense. The building is acres and acres. They all have face masks, and if there's 15 or 20 Democrats, then 15 or 20 Republicans should be let in, alternately at least. They all have masks on. None of them appears to be sick, and nor have you asked them if they're sick. You could simply ask each one, do you have any COVID symptoms? No. Do any of you have any of you been with anyone in COVID that has COVID in the past 24 hours?
No. They should come out and it should be Democrats versus Republicans counting. It should be an even tally. Don't you agree?
Of course. All right, I'm going to end this video now because I want to bring it down to the authorities. And I'm asking you one more time, Mr. Danielson, please let these counters come in. Will you let them in? You can't. Why not?
COVID capacity.
What COVID capacity?
Can you at least radio again and ask your boss?
Who told you not to disclose any information?
Can you at least radio and ask again if anything has changed?
We have video of government employees covering the windows so that the public couldn't watch them count the votes.
Well, look at this. They're covering up.
You stink!
Literally covering up the windows. Covering up the windows. Covering up the crime. Let me see. Here we go. Putting coverings. This is real. I'm not even making this up.
We have videos of poll employees who stayed late and filled out blank ballots as if nobody was watching them, as if no security cameras were watching them.
At about 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. So what are these ballots doing there separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses?
They say that the election was stolen and that your country is being taken from you.
So yes, the 2020 election was stolen, and our country is being taken from us. The Democrats are bringing in millions and millions of illegal aliens and giving them preferential treatment to actual American citizens. They're being given free housing, free health care, free education, welfare, prepaid debit cards. They're being allowed to register to vote in our local elections. They're being given gun rights. There's even talk of them joining the police forces. Our country is being taken from us. And by the way, it's not just the local elections that they want illegal aliens to vote in. They encourage illegals to vote in national elections as well. They're trying to cheat the system by importing millions of voters. And anybody who tells you otherwise is either lying to you or they're living under a rock.
If you want to vote and you show up at your polling place, they can't stop you from voting. They can't stop you from voting. If people want to know how to vote, then you can go to iwillvote.com. The fact of the matter is that we give our power away all the time. You know, we tell ourselves, oh, it's hard, it's not going to matter, it's not going to count. And the powers that be, they're counting on us giving our power away.
Many of the millennials, dreamers, undocumented citizens, and I call them citizens because they contribute to this country, are fearful of voting. So if I vote, will immigration know where I live? Will they come for my family and deport us?
Not true.
Okay.
And the reason is, first of all, when you vote, you are a citizen yourself, and there is not a situation where the voting rolls somehow are transferred over and people start investigating, etc.
So I'll say it again. Yes, the election was stolen, and yes, our country is being taken from us.
Like, I don't think anybody should be killed. I don't think anybody should go and kill anybody, but
again, Destiny is lying, and he's doing it this time because he's on international TV. He's not going to tell everybody, he's not going to tell the world on international TV that he wants to genocide conservatives. He's not going to do it.
I'm ready for the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
When you engage in this type of rhetoric and when you turn the temperature up over and over and over and over again.
Okay, so I covered this argument earlier in this video, so I won't go all into detail again, but I will say this. As I stated earlier, there's many examples of when Democrat politicians and Democrat celebrities push a violent narrative, whether it's holding up fake heads of Donald Trump like he's just been guillotined, or talking about the last time an actor assassinated a president, or stabbing somebody who looks like the president, or shooting somebody who looks like the president, talking about blowing up the White House or putting a bullet in the president. Until you have a compilation of conservative leaders doing these exact same things, you're in no position to be talking about how conservatives are turning up the temperature over and over and over again. You're really not. You have no ground.
There is absolutely no room for you to be shocked or surprised, and there certainly isn't room for you to ask for sympathy.
But you Destiny, you say you don't want anybody killed, and yet you say, I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt to chastise people celebrating it. People celebrating the near assassination of Donald Trump. If you can't find it in you to chastise people who do that, aren't you just as despicable as the people you've just spent the last 2 minutes haranguing?
No, because they've led the way. This is the environment that they've created.
My entire video proves that this is not the case. Conservatives didn't start the hostility. All conservatives wanted, and still want, is to be able to buy a house, live their own lives, not have their paychecks cut nearly in half by taxation, not have their kids queered out or trannied at school, not have millions of trespassers voting in our elections, and not have our inalienable rights taken from us. It's that simple. We just want to live normal lives. That's the American dream. We conservatives just want to live the American dream. But you liberals insist on making us all live through a European nightmare, a socialist nightmare. You liberals insist on taxing away more and more from everybody's paychecks. You keep printing off more money, making it impossible for regular people to buy a house. You keep brainwashing our kids in school. You keep forcing these month-long fringe holidays on us. You keep attacking our historical heroes. You keep trying to take away our constitutional rights. especially First and Second Amendment rights. You keep allowing millions and millions of illegal aliens to come here, making wages worse for like actual Americans, making the housing situation worse, and these illegals won't even assimilate to our culture. And if that wasn't bad enough, you're giving them all this free stuff and encouraging them to vote in our elections. And whenever a conservative tries to stop all of this madness, you call them Hitler, you call them Nazis. So it's you who started all of this. You're the ones who created this hostile environment. And liberals have been doing this, vilifying capitalism, conservatives, and promoting socialism since at least the 1930s. They've always been a puppet of the communists and the globalists.
When they thought that George Soros and the World Economic Forum and the IMF banks and everybody were taking over the country and the Federal Reserve was devaluing our currency, it's all the same. Nothing has changed.
And it's funny how liberals will call us Nazis, fascists, and traitors.
And in fact, several months ago, Vivek Ramaswamy,
even though most of our World War II veterans vote for Donald Trump, they're completely on board with the MAGA movement. And these are the guys who fought and killed actual Nazis. And not only that, but these guys also had to compete against the Soviet Union at the time. So they would recognize a communist when they see one.
These are communist bastards. They're communists. Hey, it ain't happening. Don't worry.
So to wrap things up, Destiny is a communist. And like a communist, he wants to genocide all of his political opponents. And make no mistake about it, Destiny is not rare. The majority of Democrat leaders want to formally deprogram you, or remove you from society, or genocide you.
I'm ready for the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
Well, that's all I've got for now. If you like this video and you want to see more in the future, then hit that like button and be sure to subscribe. Thanks.